Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today for the Harvard Federal Credit Union's Fall Member Town Hall. We're so excited to have you all join us here today. Bring your questions and everything as we go into the end of the year. I do want to just go over a few housekeeping Zoom meeting background information before we get started today. Today's format is going to be webinar mode. Basically, this means we're going to be answering questions. Because it's in webinar mode, everybody, all of the participants are automatically muted and their cameras are off, so you don't have to worry about popping in or anything like that. Feel free to enjoy your lunch or, any sort of background noises will automatically be reduced, so that's great. And because we're in webinar mode, we're actually going to use today's Q&A feature instead of the chat for any and all questions that you may have. So if you have any questions, we absolutely welcome them. We have our Chief Experience Officer, Tom, answering questions in the background as well. So please do feel free to ask any questions using the Q&A feature as things go on. And then I did also just want to mention that we are automatically going to be recording this presentation, and it's going to be available for free on our YouTube page, youtube.com/@HarvardFCU, following today's meeting. So you can always go back and review it at your leisure. But thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm Ty Koppelson, and I'm joined here today by Craig Leonard, our president and CEO of the Harvard Federal Credit Union. How are you doing today, Craig?
Great. How are you, Ty?
Great. Very happy to have you here. Very happy to have everyone. I always look forward to these. Being able to just like talk and answer member questions is always a great thing that I think is awesome. And more institutions should have this sort of, transparency. So it's great to be here.
Yeah, I can't believe we've been doing this for about 4 years now.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get started. We're going to jump into the first question we have for you today, Craig, which is, well, actually, we're just going to go over the financials first, if you don't mind speaking to that.
Yeah, sure. Just again to give everyone first, thanks for joining us today. We love doing these, and we love getting the all the questions that you provide to us. They're great, and they do help us, kind of move directionally where we want to go as an organization. We listen and we think about all the questions that you send them. So please keep participating. In terms of our financials, overall lending this year is slightly down, roughly about 10% where we were over last year's numbers. Some of that has to do with just interest rates, spiking up certainly over the last year. Mortgages have got more expensive in terms of the rates that are within the marketplace. Also, housing demand is certainly challenging. Home affordability continues to be an issue, certainly here in the Massachusetts marketplace, but certainly across the country as well. And so that's challenging. We still see a lot of our members using their credit cards, spending quite a bit. We see a lot of members opting for or tapping into their equity, taking out more home equity lines of credit, which is kind of a normal when we start to see kind of interest rates increase, and refinancing opportunities really aren't economically feasible for a lot of homeowners, especially where people have taken advantage of lower rates that were available in the market some years ago. On the other side of the ledger, on the deposit side, we're still seeing and have really been for the last year, this huge shift of members moving funds into certificates of deposit. These certificates of deposit have really increased in rates over the past years. The Federal Reserve has increased interest rates. All financial institutions increase those rates accordingly. And so we have seen a big shift. We've seen a big shift in members really opting for our 11 and 15-month terms in particular. Those are really good yielding products right now. The other thing that we've been seeing in the marketplace over the last couple months in particular, as the Fed started to decrease short-term rates, a lot of financial institutions have started to get rid of some of their specials. We've been really good about maintaining those. And so we're seeing great member demand taking that, and we feel like we're giving some great member value back as a result.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that today. All right. Well, let's get into the questions.
Sure.
To start with, for new members, can you give an overview of the credit products available to us?
Yeah, and I'll do this at a really high level. A lot of our members who have been with us for years still don't realize that we have a complete suite of lending products. We can do anything that I'll say a bank can do. The only kind of missing ingredient that we have within our lineup today are business loans, which we're actually working on and plan to start rolling out to our membership towards the first quarter of 2025.
Hmm.
But if you want, we have various credit card offerings, personal loans that are unsecured, auto loans. We have a number of different student loan options. We have one for undergraduates. We have a graduate program. We have one for parents. So you name it. If you're trying to fund your education, we have a lot of options. If you're looking to consolidate some of your student loans, we have options there. And then certainly on the mortgage side of the business, we do, that's actually the largest asset that we have on the books here at our credit union. And we do first mortgages. We do mortgages generally up to about $2 million in loans. We do second mortgages. So if you're looking to refinance that house, if you're looking for a second home, we can finance your second home. So from really soup to nuts, we can do it all. So if you're thinking about lending, we would really like you to think of us.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really like that we have all of these different products and how you mentioned we have them for students and for parents. You know, if there's sort of a negative space there, we've tried to fill it with something, and I think that's really great. All right, next question. What has changed since we've incorporated our new name back in June?
Yeah, well, when we said we were going to go through this name change, we weren't changing fundamentally who we were.
Hmm.
We wanted to change our name to be more representative of who actually belongs to the credit union. Our name was started back 85 years ago. We just celebrated our 85th year of operation. And so when it started to be just concentrated on employees, that made a whole lot of sense. But over the years, we've expanded that eligibility. um, Students, faculty, affiliates of Harvard all started to come into our field of membership. And there was lots of confusion around our name, quite frankly. A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
just felt like if they weren't a Harvard employee, they couldn't belong. And that was no longer true. So
Hmm.
changing our name, making it more open to those who could actually belong, made a lot of sense. Through that, we also did alter our membership to some degree, where it does allow more people to come into the organization. We think we have great products and services. We think we have a great value proposition to our current members and prospective members. So we want to allow more people into the organization. And so the other thing that has changed is we have allowed some more people into the organization and hope to do so more in the future.
Yeah, that's really great. I remember you talking so much about being wanting to reach more communities and more members and being able to help more people, and how the name change and charter change really helped us get there. So that's
Absolutely.
great. All right, next question. Is business banking open to those outside of Massachusetts?
It is. So business banking is a product suite that we just started to roll out the beginning of October, and we just started with the deposit side for businesses.
Hmm.
We are currently working on the lending side. Like I said, we'll have that available, targeted for sometime in the first quarter of 2025. We're gearing our products towards small businesses. Uh,
Mm.
and we have a membership that is not just located here in Massachusetts, but spread out across the country. And really, with our student loan business and lending to students internationally, we actually have a global presence.
Hmm.
That being said, our business banking is going to be concentrated here domestically in the United States, but certainly outside of Massachusetts. The restrictions that we have around business banking tend to be more the type of business that may open. So we are
Mm.
conservative in nature from that standpoint. We want to ensure that any business that we partner with is in alignment with the risk tolerances that we have within the institution.
Hmm.
But if you're a business out there and you would like to partner with us, by all means, go check out our website. We have some great, um, great offering rates right now. We're being very aggressive in the marketplace in terms of our business money market account and our business CDs. So if you have excess funds and you want to get a really great rate of return, I think you would be really happy if you looked at what we offer.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for mentioning that. I think it's easy for people to think it's just for local businesses, but it's nice to know that we have the option to expand.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, next question. Considering the election results, do you have any predictions for rates over the near future?
This is a really tough one, and this is my personal view more than anything else. And I would say
Hmm.
that rates have bounced around considerably since the election. Once um, once President-elect Trump was elected, um, long-term interest rates really went up. And so mortgage rates went up. And I think they went up probably to the tune of, almost a 0.5%, which is
Mm,
considerable. And
hmm
so when you looked at the two candidates' plans, there was always this thought um, that um, Donald Trump's um, financial plans might be more inflationary. And as a
hmm
result, it has moved up the long end of kind of where interest rates are. What we have seen on the short end, which is what the Federal Reserve kind of monitors, the Federal Reserve started to take action in September. They lowered rates for the first time in nearly 2 years by 50 basis points or half of 1%.
hmm
And they just did another a quarter of a percent here in November. On November 7th, they made that announcement. Since the election results, the market has changed their kind of forward guidance of what they think the Fed may do. The Fed going into 2025 was projected initially to decline rates somewhere to the tune of 1% to 1.5%. Current guidance is more towards 0.5%. So the markets are definitely saying that rates may stay a little elevated
hmm
until I think we get a better understanding of what President Trump's economic plan will be and what actually gets passed. So I don't think we're going to see substantial changes if you're looking for a mortgage. If
hmm
you are looking on the shorter end, I think you'll see um, your rates on maybe your home equity line of credit, your credit cards, they will start to come down slightly, I would say, over the next year, but maybe not to the magnitude that the markets were projecting 60 days or so ago.
Mm. That's really great insight. Thank you a lot for, even though it's been a short time since then, like it's interesting to see how the market's shifting already.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Is there a plan for the future to expand the home loan options outside of Massachusetts?
Yeah, we're outside of Massachusetts right now, and this is another thing that we changed, I think back in 2000 and it's either 2000, I think it was 2021, maybe 2022. The law changed in Massachusetts. Prior to that, when we were a state chartered credit union, and this
Hmm
was you had a certain radius, 100 miles from Cambridge is the most that we could do a home loan.
hmm
And so you kind of, put a flag right where I am in Cambridge, go out 100 miles, draw a circle around that, and that was your lending territory under a
hmm
state charter. They in 2009, I think it was 21, they changed the rules around that. They eliminated that restriction. And when they did that, we immediately expanded our geographic reach. Like I said, we have membership that's just not located in Massachusetts. We have a lot of people who come to Cambridge, get their education here, and leave.
hmm
Certainly, with the pandemic, people changed where they thought they could live because
hmm
the ability to work remotely. And so we saw the kind of the workforce disperse a little bit out of our region. And so today we can do home mortgages throughout all of the New England states. And then 2 years ago, we also brought Florida into the state that we can do home loans as well. Our goal as we go forward is to include additional states, with the ultimate goal really is to be in every state. Again, we know that our membership just isn't located in Massachusetts, and it's important for us to continue to serve them almost wherever they are.
That's awesome. Yeah, especially Florida, right? It makes sense for all those people that are trying to escape the cold weather, huh?
Well, we have so many snowbirds, and you know what?
Makes sense.
I'm not a fan of the cold myself.
I'm a big fan of it, but I'm from Vermont, so you know. All right, let's see. Moving on. Why did the customer service reps move overseas?
Yeah, this actually has not happened. All of our we have our own support center or customer service reps that are located here in Massachusetts. Um, uh, Most of the time, they're located right where I am here in Cambridge. Um, we do outsource to a third party some support services. This is really for our credit card. We aren't at the
Mm,
size that we have the scale to have 24/7 support. And certainly when you have your debit card or your credit card and you want to know something, and that something could be, I think, fraud happened at 2 o'clock in the morning. You want to have a number to call, right? And
hmm
so
hmm
we have partnered with another organization. However, though that organization has their call centers located here domestically as well. So
Mm,
we have it. We don't currently have anything offshore.
great. Good to know. All right. When will the credit card interest rates be lowered?
Yeah, so I had mentioned earlier that the Federal Reserve, they started to lower interest rates for the first time in what seems like a long time. That was back in September by 50 basis points or 0.5%. Our members will see that effective here November 1st. Their rate should be lowered. Anything that's time tied to prime will adjust um, um, quickly when the Federal Reserve makes a move. So credit card holders will see that here in November. The additional 25 basis points or 1/4% that was reduced on November 7th, that impact will be reflected on January 1st. So there is a little bit of a lag of when the Fed moves their rates in terms of how our pricing gets impacted. But we'll start to see lower rates for our credit card holders here in November, and again, so far in January.
Very good. All right. What options does Harvard FCU have for high yield savings accounts or CDs, certificates of deposit, if any?
Yeah, we do, and we're really happy to offer some of these. And maybe we don't talk enough about some of the high yield savings accounts that we
Mm,
have. So we started putting these in the market maybe 2 years ago, and we have a high yield savings account that yields 4%. So 4% um, for liquid money is a really attractive rate. And I think if you compare that to a lot of other institutions, it's going to be hard to find. There are some there are some hoops that you have to go through, but we've made the bar very low.
mm,
And so, to get that, and what we do is we pay this 4% up to the first $25,000 of deposits that you have in this account. You
mm,
have to have online banking. Most members do already. You have to get your statements electronically, which most of our members do already.
hmm
And the other part of it is you have to do, I think it's either 10 or 12 debit card transactions. So the what we want to do is we want to make sure that members continue to be engaged with the institution. And with that engagement, we're able to pass on a higher rate of return. We have a high yield premium checking account, which yields, I think, 3% for an APY right now. And kind of the CDs that I talked about earlier when we were chatting, we have a number of CDs that are still attractively priced, anywhere from 6 months out to 15 months in terms. This is really where you've seen a big separation from our organization to other organizations in the marketplace. A year or so, other institutions had longer term specials. Now that they know the Fed has started to directionally start to lower rates, what they've done is they've all moved their most attractive rate to a very short term, typically in
Mm,
that 6 month window. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get their members or customers to go short, which allows them to kind of reprice their money faster at lower rates.
mm-hmm,
We have kept our rates high from 6 month to 15 months, giving members the opportunity to still lengthen their maturities, tie in these longer term yields so that even if rates go down, they're not penalized. If you were to ask me for my personal recommendation of what members should consider, I would tell them to strongly consider looking at our 11 and 15-month terms. If
mm.
liquidity is not an issue for any member, I think you're going to be happy securing those long-term yields today, when you look at directly where rates may be or are headed over the next few months.
That's great. Yeah. And I know you mentioned that for the high yield savings, you have to do that certain amount of debit card transactions. I know my wife and I, we really just use it for laundry and stuff like that to make sure that we can get a lot of smaller transactions in a row and get to that yield. So
And it's easy,
yeah.
you figure, what, I'm going to use it for gas. I'm going to use it for
Hmm.
groceries, and you don't even think about it. That the 10 or 12 transactions are are really easy to hit. Sometimes
Hmm.
we sometimes members here and they're like, I don't do that, but in your daily life, um, I hate to say it, my wife can do it in a day. Um,
Yeah, that's great. So always a plan, always a way to get there. All right. Next question. Does Harvard FCU have plans to expand its physical presence outside of Massachusetts?
Well, one of the benefits of changing our charter from state to federal makes this a whole lot easier for us to do so.
Hmm.
That being said, we don't have any immediate plans on broadening our physical presence outside the state. We have a small physical presence to begin with.
Hmm.
I think that as we start to increase our branch um, presence, and with this change in charter and our change in eligibility, it gives us more ability to expand our physical presence. We'll likely start doing that here in Massachusetts before we concentrate outside of the state.
Mm, that makes sense. All right. Next question. Is there still a place in the credit union for older adults who do not have resources to conduct bank business via smartphone?
Yeah, I think sometimes our older members feel like we forgot all about them, right? Everything we promote is use technology, and certainly directionally, that's where the industry is going. That
Mm,
being said, there's a place for, our members who don't want to embrace technology. We still have these branches that you can come into. We still have all these wonderful staff who are waiting to see people come walking through those doors so they can help them. If you don't want to get electronic statements, we'll send you a paper statement. So um, you can still bank the way you've kind of, I'm going to say, grown up banking. That's kind of what I was used to for most of my life is, you went down to the branch and made your deposits. And part of it was you got to know those people who worked in those branch locations. You became friends with them. The
hmm.
other thing that we're going to be rolling out next year, and we had a solution like this years ago. We called it Call 24, which was just a phone system that if you wanted to call in and punch in your numbers to get your deposit balance, or maybe check on a couple transactions, you could do it. We did away with that solution. Um, but what we're doing is we're bringing something back that's a little bit more modernized, and it's going to use AI where you won't need to kind of push in buttons to do these transactions, but
Mm,
you'll be able to just to speak to it. It'll recognize your voice. So I could say, um, I want to transfer $25 from my checking to my savings account, and it'll do that for you. And so if you want to do that as opposed to kind of coming into the branch, a system like that is great too, where it's available 24/7.
mm,
So if you said, oh, you know what? the branch is closed, but I need to do this, and I don't use online banking. Here's another option. So we'll be rolling that out in the beginning of 2025 as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool to hear how sort of newer technologies, like you mentioned, like some with AI, can actually be used to create a good experience for people that don't want to have to do all of the technology stuff on their own, you know? I think that's really cool. All right, next question. What is the general 5 to 10 year strategy for the Harvard FCU? Membership growth, acquisitions, new business lines?
Yeah, we've done a lot over the last, I'm going to say, 3 years in particular. We have focused on, and we just had, we just had our annual employee meeting this week. And one of the things I had mentioned to you, Ty, and the rest of the
Mm-hmm.
organization was that over the last 3 years, we've put considerable effort into introducing a really full suite of products and services for our membership. So we've introduced things like insurance services and investment services. We've just introduced um, business banking. We'll introduce business lending next year. We've also instituted digital wills and estates. And so we've added a lot of these products and offerings to really meet the needs of our membership. Our focus over the next few years will be strengthening and reinforcing some of the newer services that we've brought to market. There is going to be still a large attention for us as we go forward to grow membership. This is a business that unfortunately you need to continue to grow in order to survive. Credit unions 20 years ago, there were 20,000 credit unions nationally. Today, there's 4,500. There's been tremendous consolidation in the credit union industry. There's been tremendous consolidation in the banking industry. Of that 4,500, that number is projected to decline to 3,000 by the year 2030. 2030 is not that far into the future. So we know for us to be not just a survivor, but a compelling organization for our membership into the future, we need to grow and we need to continue to think of the needs of our members today, but also the needs of those members into the future. From an acquisition standpoint, acquisitions have really not been part of our strategy in years past. That doesn't mean that we're not opposed to looking at acquisitions, and our charter change does allow some more opportunities to consider those than how we were kind of positioned previously. Um, but but generally, we would like to grow organically when we can.
That's great. Yeah. It's so interesting to hear about how many fewer credit unions there are over the years, even recently. So,
Yeah, it's crazy that the number of credit unions have decreased dramatically, and so but the number of members who have joined credit unions has increased dramatically.
wow, that's really cool. All right, next question. Oh, actually, not a next question. I was hoping you could speak a little bit about the upcoming initiatives we have here at the credit union.
Yeah, I'm just going to focus again. I've been kind of plugging a little bit the business banking. That's our newest one. Again, we just rolled that out here in October. We're really excited about this one. This is something we've talked about for a number of years. We think that there's tremendous opportunities. We have lots of members over the years who have asked us about the introduction of business banking services. We're kind of taking this, how we're describing a kind of crawl, walk, run approach. We
Hmm.
want to make sure we're doing it well. So, you'll continue to see more marketing and advertising around it over the next couple of months in particular. Like I said, we're still building out the lending products and likely, again, we're going to be focused more towards small businesses. So, we're not going to be that institution to put up a skyscraper. That's not
Hmm.
that's not our niche. But if
Hmm.
you're a small business and you want some honest products with some good rates and some low fees, I really think you should consider us.
Mm. That's awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everyone here today. We do still have the Q&A open just in case there's any sort of last minute questions here. But we always want to keep in touch with you guys. You can always reach out to us at support@harvardfcu.org, as well as the website and the social channels. We always want more feedback or more questions. We're always trying to stay in touch with the community. It's really important to us here at the credit union. And thank you all so much for joining us here today. Let's see. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions that haven't already been answered. So thank you all again so much for joining us. Like I said, this is going to be available for free on our YouTube following today's town hall presentation. So you can always go back and reference it whenever you need to. And thank you again, Craig, for taking time out of your schedule to hang out with us today and answer some questions. All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
Okay.
you, everyone, for participating.
Have a great day, Al.